Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So I've had to point out a few times over the past year that the Tory press are starting to blame Labour for a lot of things which happened under the Conservatives. Actually, the Tories themselves are engaging in this bout of political amnesia. But the Daily Mail yesterday came up with an absolute beauty, blaming Labour taxes for the exit from Britain of a billionaire who left Britain years ago. 10 years after the Tories came to power and 4 years before Labour returned. So what's really behind one of the Daily Mail's most clownish claims? But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So various groups have been using the media to lobby the government, directly and indirectly, to do what they would like to see done to taxes this November. It's been all over the place. The CBI, they spent summer saying that Reeves should reduce taxes on them. Oh, but, break your manifesto promise and raise them on ordinary working people instead. Because as everyone knows, low-income workers have been having it too easy of late, haven't they? We've also had a constant back and forth between the left and right on rich guy flight. Oh, the wealthy are all fleeing the country. And the left go, no, they're not. But they're thinking about leaving. All so scary. And as I've explained, it's a complete red herring, arguing one way or the other. It's pointless. It's a nonsense. Rich people don't leave and they don't live here. If there were a prize for the most ridiculous claim, however, in this cavalcade of tax lobbying season, must surely go to the Daily Mail for their offering yesterday. So the headline, right? Headline. Labour taxes for £17 billion Manchester United tycoon Jim Ratcliffe out of Britain. Okay. Here's another headline. So Jim Ratcliffe, UK's richest person, moved to tax-free Monaco. Okay, so this sounds like a headline in a different paper about the same thing, right? He's off to Monaco, right? Now, the second headline was from 5 years ago in September 2020. Jim Ratcliffe, and there aren't two Jim Ratcliffes, but I'm sure there are, but there aren't two Jim Ratcliffe billionaires, who is a vocal supporter of the Tories and Brexit and has been for years, decided to move from Britain to a tax haven in the year of Brexit, in the year he got what he wanted. So a comically ridiculous claim that he is moving from Britain because of Labour taxes 4 years before Labour came to power. Not that he ever moved from Britain at all. This is what I mean about it being a red herring about rich people moving. He'll have just changed the documentation, not his physical living arrangements. He's still in Britain and Monaco and probably other places as well. This is what I've been saying about billionaires leaving the country. They never do. They don't ever live in just one country. So when they leave, in inverted commas, all they're actually doing is changing their primary residence for tax purposes. However, there's another little wrinkle in this Daily Mail article, actually a couple. First one. So you read beyond the headline, which is always important because the Daily Mail articles and headlines rarely have anything to do with one another. So you read the article and it's talking about moving some of his business out of the country, not himself. And you go, ah. So the headline's deliberately misleading. But you may say, well, hang on a minute, Phil. That's even worse, isn't it? That's more serious. Because where a billionaire literally hangs their hat, is that such a big deal? Surely it's their businesses which supply the jobs and most of the taxes that are important, right? Yeah. But then you look at the specific reasons cited and the nature of this investment. So first problem cited is the windfall tax on oil companies. This was implemented by the Conservatives. Yes, Labour have increased it. That is absolutely true. They've increased it from 75% to 78%. Now, you compare that with the United States, where Ratcliffe says he's moving this investment, where there is no windfall tax. So the tax rate on the extra profits, which, remember, those extra profits were generated by the higher cost of oil and gas as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So it's profiteering, really. So the tax rate in Houston will be 22%. So you're going to tell me that Jim Ratcliffe was happy to have that investment in Britain at 75% when it could have been 22% in America several years ago. But now he's moving because it's gone up an extra 3% over the 53% higher rate that the Tories imposed. Also, what sort of investment are we talking about here? We're talking about investment that was going to be spent in Britain and now it's going to America? Because he's an oil tycoon, right? He's got business interests all around the world. How do we know he's moving investments to America? Where from? Where from in Britain? Because if we're talking about a business which attracts the windfall tax, that's been transitioned in the UK anyway. Green tech is providing more growth for the UK economy than oil investment. That's stagnant, right? And the jobs still pay well. So it's good for jobs and it's better for the UK economy. Labour are transitioning from oil and gas-based jobs to green energy-based jobs. So what specific investment is he cancelling in Britain? Oh, there's no mention in the article. So how many jobs is this supposedly affecting? Well, it mentions a plant at Grangemouth, but it blames carbon taxes for that, not the windfall tax. Labour haven't raised carbon taxes. We are likely to implement the carbon border adjustment mechanism in a couple of years, I think. But that will be to boost trade with the EU, so that's net good for the UK economy and for jobs. But if they're blaming carbon taxes, they haven't changed since the Tories were in power. People think this is a serious newspaper, you know. They begin by claiming it's Labour's fault that a guy who officially left the country 4 years before they came to power is leaving the country. Then you read it, talk about investment, which is not remotely what you'd think from the headline. But then it blames two taxes which the Tories implemented, only one of which has gone up, and even then marginally. I mean, let me explain what's actually happening here. So the oil industry is basically dying duck everywhere because the current investment will still provide jobs for decades, by the way. We're not talking about a coal industry in the 1980s Thatcher cliff edge here. Oil exploitation is a very long-term thing. So Sunak released a load of licenses before he left power. It's decades before they'd run their course. So they're set. They're set for decades, right? No jobs affected. But we're already using much less anyway. Remember, why do you think oil refineries are struggling to stay afloat in this country? It's not because Labour have hammered them with taxes. It's because businesses, industry is keener on green technology. That's the way British industry has been going, regardless of who was in government. It hasn't just suddenly changed. Clean energy is more reliable for industry because oil producing countries keep getting into disruptive fights apart from anything else. So investment in oil was already falling off a cliff in the UK and countries around the world, including, by the way, the United States. The government might be trying to push it, but American industry isn't. And the economic growth in the energy sector is coming from green energy. But Trump, of course, is splashing public cash. It's not that there's business investment in America for more fossil fuels. It's entirely taxpayer money. It's taxpayer funded. But nonetheless, he's splashing the cash for fossil fuel merchants in America. That's what's actually happening. The Daily Mail are unable to identify any economic cost for this move. They're not able to identify any investment that was earmarked for Britain that's now, because that's the suggestion. He's moving it from Britain to America. But where in Britain is it moving from? Where? It doesn't say. What they're doing here is two things. First, obviously, they're just trying to find a way of bashing both taxes and Labour, right? Because they don't like taxes. But the data shows, of course, you need to tax to fund infrastructure, and you need infrastructure to allow businesses to grow, right? Second, really, this is part of their attack on net zero. They reel you in. And really what the article is going on about is attacking Miliband's net zero agenda. And they're saying, and this was their words, is that it's been blamed for a shock rise in energy bills this winter. Are your energy bills rising? Most people's aren't rising, right? What's actually happening? It's a statistical thing, right? Statistically, energy bills are going up by an average of just under £3 a month. I think it's £2.93 a month. But that's not a real rise for many people. It's a statistical effect from the low income household warm home discount, right? So households in receipt of certain benefits get the warm home discount, which is £150 off your bill. Now, the energy industry pays for that, not the government. So to pay for it, sometimes the standing charge is increased for everyone else to compensate, but by the tune of £35 a year. And that won't apply to everyone, even if they don't get the discount. And the reason why some people may find their standing charge going up by £2.93 a month is because Labour have expanded the number of households who will access the discount. So there are struggling households that last year did not get this £150 off, who now will. So the Daily Mail are really complaining here that those who are better off might pay an extra £35 a year. So those who are struggling can get £150 knocked off their bills. But of course, if Labour can get household finances going in the right direction, then in the next few years, people will come out of that scheme because it's based on needing benefits. Well, if your household income increases and you no longer need them, you won't need this discount either, and the standing charge can come down. Plus, the transition away from fossil fuels will make energy bills naturally cheaper per kilowatt hour. Where will the likes of the Daily Mail and Reform UK go at the next election if Miliband succeeds? This is why they're attacking his work now. They cannot afford for his department to succeed. So many of their lies would be exposed. And remember, some people are getting cheaper energy bills as early as next year as part of the pylon expansion. So for a lot of households, if they live near where they want to build new pylons, you get cheaper energy bills. Your bills ain't going up, they're going down. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.